Hello, hello, and what's up to you all wonderful and awesome mindsetters? It is a lovely Thursday and it is time for Geography. My name is Abram and today I'm with Dave. Dave, how are you, sir?
How's it, Avram? How are you doing?
Doing well, sir.
Good,
I can't
man,
complain. The
and
weather is good.
I'm just excited about the geographers there. The
They're also
days are
exci-
going, eh? We're nearing close.
They're also excited, hey, but I hope they're ready. But we're here to help them, right?
Yes.
Right. What are we doing with the matrix today?
Well, we're going to look at some typical prelim questions in order to prepare them for the exams, which is not a lot far away from now. This is one of the early papers. So we're going to take some sections from economic geography, geomorphology, and we're going to work with them. Do you have any messages for them, Abraham, or should I continue?
No, don't continue, please. I have so much to say.
You can see how excited I am.
I'm so excited. Guys, we've got so many things happening around. We also have some great giveaways for you guys. Firstly, you need to get your notes on learn.mindset.co.za. But because I'm a nice guy, I always post the notes for you, the viewing, the download, and of course the test yourself links. They are all on facebook.com/learn extra. Remember, these notes and this content and this show, basically, it's proudly sponsored by Macmillan. So guys, if you want to check out what Macmillan has for you, go to their website and more information will be on our Facebook page. Other than that, we do have a calculator giveaway. By answering the test yourself question, it's simple, Dave. Those questions are simple. They just need to answer them as honest as possible and no guesswork. Just try think before you answer, and then you could stand a chance of winning an awesome Casio calculator. But lastly, we are giving away cars, 4 Chevy Spark L cars. All you need to do it is to either buy the book or download the cool K53 app for Samsung smartphones. It is available at the Galaxy App Store, and you can also get it on Google Play, guys. So it is available for everyone. So that's the first thing. You buy the book or download the app. Secondly, jump to Mindset, Learn Extra, our Facebook page. There is a tab there. It is a Win a Spark tab. You enter your details there. That is an entry form. After that, you go and like the Facebook page, which is Learn Extra if you haven't liked it. But if you have, also go and like the Safeways K53 page. It is an official page because we're trying to help you guys get your learners and your driver's license. So we've got 1 car that we're giving away. But if you don't win, we also have 3 others. So it's 4 cars basically.
Do they know they have to drive on the road, not on the pavement? Eh?
Yes, of course, Dave.
Just teasing, learners, just teasing.
And we'll be helping them with the tips. So it's good that you mentioned that. We'll be helping you guys with some tips. But for now, let's get to some learning.
Okay, learners, let's get on. All right, we're going to look at the prelim sort of questions on each section. All right, I've got a few here. I brought in more case study stroke article questions, which I think some of you have difficulty in. And I want to show you how you find some of the answers in those little articles or case studies. Let's look at the sections that we're going to cover again. I know you know this by now, but it's all these little sections here. And let me get my little pen. Of course, it's climate and weather, geomorphology, settlement, and economic geography. Learners, please, just today I had a question to me. Which section can we leave out? Please, again, learners, you cannot leave out a question. All right, question 1, question 2 is your climate and geomorphology, and half of each of those questions consist of these sections. And of course, question 3 and 4 is your settlement and your economic geography. So you cannot leave out any questions. I know I've said this before, but I just want to remind you. All right? And remember also, learners, you have to answer 3 out of 4 questions. Okay, let's get going with some of these questions here. Of course, our challenge question first. I know by now, Abraham, this is no more a challenge question. They know it off.
They know it.
They know it off by now.
Smart
All right.
mindsetters.
Let's look at this thing. Many more super hurricanes, all right, it's like Super Dave, are being experienced around America. This is the truth. We're finding more hurricanes. Even if you watch the news, you find this happening more often nowadays, and stronger hurricanes. A climatic phenomenon created by man could be responsible for this. Okay, learners? Questions of responsible for this increase in super hurricanes. Question: state and explain the climatic phenomenon and explain how this climatic phenomenon could increase the number of super hurricanes. That's our challenge question for today, and we'll come to it later. All right, let's get going with the questions itself. And notice immediately I brought in a little extract stroke case study. All right, and watch now, learners, because some of you, I've checked prelim papers, and some of you don't look at the article properly. And there are clues and answers in them. So when the examiner says refer or read the extract figure 1, that is exactly what you do. I know I've said this before, but I'm now emphasizing even more on it. The examiner also gives you little clues. Okay, so first of all, he says here, the examiner says it's on tropical cyclones. Now, heading strongest storm lashes India. Of course, in your mind, you already started to think about what tropical cyclones is. Strong winds, lots of rainfall, torrential rainfall. Okay, so you can see that's an appropriate heading. All right, I'm going to look here. India's strongest storm in 14 years left a trail of destruction along the country's east coast, killing 7 people. Cyclone Palin was expected to dissipate, I'm highlighting the important words, within 36 hours, obviously losing momentum. And as it moved over inland, already when you're reading the article, you're thinking, okay, when it moves inland, you're thinking friction, you're thinking lack of latent heat, that is why it's dissipating. So when you're reading your article, learners, you're already working out the information that you learned. Remember, applying it, practicing now makes a difference. So I'm looking at that, I'm saying, okay, inland, friction, etc. After making landfall, the cyclone brought winds of more than 200 kilometers. Already you're thinking 200 kilometers. A violent storm. Stage, mature stage. All right, because the wind speeds are very high. Next one, it ripped through homes, can you see the damage? And tore down trees. The cyclone was one of 3 major storms over Asia yesterday. The smaller cyclone, Nasi, was also approaching Vietnam, and cyclone Verpa loomed over the Pacific. At least 873,000 people spent the night in shelters, which had been built after the storm, which killed more than 10,000 people in the same area. So we can see from this, learners, that there's precautionary measures being taken. They learned from a 1999 storm, which killed 10,000 people, therefore they built shelters. All right? The disaster management team saved lives by putting people in shelters. What we picked up from the last part of the article is that steps have been taken and so many lives have been saved. This massive storm came in, and at this stage, very few people passed away, or 7 people died. But in the past, 10,000 people died. So we read a lot into the information. All right, we interpret it. All right, is there anything else? No. Now we're ready for the questions. All right, we notice there are 3 different cyclones. The first one, which one of the 3 cyclones mentioned in the article was developed first? And some people just jump, learners. Oh, Palin is mentioned first, so obviously that's the first one. And many people wrote this sort of answer. But we need to get back to our application. How are cyclones named? They're named according to the letter of the alphabet. So if it was A, it was the first cyclone for that year. It was B, it was the second cyclone. So when I look at this question, learners, I need to look at the first letter of each cyclone, P. And then I look at the next one, N. And obviously I look at the next one, W. Which is the first letter? Obviously it's N. So Nasi would be the first one. We need to know our information and then apply it. All right, so obviously the answer is Nasi. Okay, and of course you get your 1 mark for that. Let's look at the next question. Give one reason to support your answer to this question. Obviously you know this answer now. Cyclones are named alphabetically, so therefore Nasi is the first letter of the alphabet. Okay, can you see? Cyclones are named alphabetically, and Nasi N is before P and W. That means Nasi is the first one. Obviously, you'll get your marks. All right? You can get a mark for either saying it's named alphabetically or N is before P or W. All right, let's take the next question. In which stage of development, all right, in which stage of development was Cyclone Palin before it reached land? You already, by reading the article, you already made sense of where it is. You know, 200 kilometers. You also worked out something else, that after this, it dissipated, as it mentioned in the article. All right? It dissipated, so you know, from mature to dissipation stage. High wind speeds, obviously it's in the mature stage. Now, most of the answers we have got from the article down here. Okay, so obviously it's in a mature stage. Okay, let's go on. Explain why Cyclone Palin dissipated when it moved inland. Learners, don't look at the word Palin. Okay? We just use it because we're using a case study. It can be any tropical cyclone. It will fall under the same thing. Now, you worked it out. You studied it. You know when it reaches or moves over land, there are problems such as friction. Okay, I wouldn't really call it a problem because it cuts the cyclone down, so we don't have so much damage. But there's friction, which will make the air mix. Okay, there's not much moisture, so there's less latent heat. And remember, the cyclone actually needs heat, because when it's heat, air is rising, is creating the low pressure, and air is moving in at tremendous speeds. So it's your normal stuff that you have learned. There we have it here. Okay? We look at it, it reaches land which is dry. Less evaporation releases, so therefore it releases less latent heat. Friction over land, okay? Therefore it mixes the air, you don't have that well-formed low pressure. So any two would give you your answers. Let's look at the next question. Explain the statement. India was better prepared for the approach of Palin than the similar destructive storms in the same area. You can either go and write answers from anywhere, or you can do it simply, learners. All you need to do is go back to the article, and the answers are here. Number one, better prepared because they built shelters. And they moved the people into the shelters in time to avoid any great amount of deaths. So straight from the article, learners, we can get the answer. So let's look at this. All right? There we are. Shelters were constructed previous to the storms. People were moved into shelters before the storms. Learners, you're noticing this. The answers are right there. Okay? Next one. Discuss in approximately 8 lines why the disaster management team of India would encounter more problems, all right, after the storm than during the storm itself. Again, don't think India. Think generally. Why are there more sort of problems after the storm than before the storm? You've studied this already in your class or when you revised. You know infrastructure is damaged. It's hard to get food to people. Medical facilities they can't get. All right, stagnant water, waterborne diseases. So all we're doing is we're putting it into context in terms of India, but the answer is quite general. Don't get fooled by the name of a country when you know the work already. Don't look India, look tropical cyclones. All right, let's look at the answers down here very quickly. There we are again. All right, infrastructure is destroyed. Remember, this is a paragraph question, eh? So you please put it in a paragraph. You may not get marks if you write it in point form. Okay, rescue teams cannot reach the affected area. Medical teams cannot reach the affected area. Medication does not reach the area. No access to fresh water supplies because piped water, etc., could be the pipes could be damaged. So therefore, they're looking at all the stagnant water available. All right, emergency food supplies cannot get to them due to the infrastructure being destroyed. All right, outbreak of diseases, especially waterborne diseases, tend to come about now. All right, like your malaria and whatever. All right, people lack proper shelter and they're exposed to the elements of weather, which also can cause greater damage. Of course, there are other answers for this, but again, it's a general thing, but we sort of make it specific towards India. Abraham, I think you need a break. You're talking too long now.
Thank you so much. I really do say. And on that note, a big shout out to all the mindsetters that are watching, such as Refilo Frida. Big shout out to you and all other mindsetters that are enjoying this geography show. Remember, guys, you can bring your questions to us. We are ready. Mr. Hurricane here is ready to take all your questions. We'll see you after the break.
You smaller, you're a tornado.
Welcome back, Mindsetters. If you just joined us now, you're late, but it's fine. We're here to help you. And anyway, welcome. Tell all your friends, your teachers, to like our Facebook page. It is facebook.com/learnextra. And also follow us on Twitter @learnextra, because we're here to learn more and learn extra. Remember, guys, we also have the Vodacom giveaway. We started the competition last term, and this term, it is a final round. We've got 6 teachers that you have voted for. So these teachers, they're the ones that got the highest number of likes from you guys. So all you need to do, it is to go on a Curio, use the code which is LEARN, LEARN. It doesn't matter lower or uppercase, just write LEARN. That's your code. Like your teacher, and then go on Facebook, like the picture of your teacher, and share the picture of your teacher. You could get a Samsung, you can get a Sony Xperia L cell phone, proudly sponsored by Vodacom, or some airtime for yourself.
Hey, nice.
Dave?
Nice.
How cool is that? We
And
want the
you
guys
said
to
I'm
get
your
connected.
favorite teacher, eh? Am I your favorite teacher? I hope
And
so.
good news, Dave, you didn't make it to the top 6 teachers.
Okay, guys, let's look at the another question. And what actually happens sometimes, learners, is that when we look at the questions and we see something that seems to be unusual, we tend to avoid those questions. Now, very, very important is that we read through our papers beforehand. I want to show you a diagram that's very different to what we get tested on in Berg winds. So let's look at this. Okay? Let's look at it. It says figure 2, which illustrates the temperature conditions associated with passing of Berg winds, and answer the questions that follow. So temperature associated with Berg winds. All right? Now, let's look at the diagram. Very unusual. Normally we get a map and we got the high pressure cell and the coastal low, etc. So sometimes we tend to avoid it, but it could be very simple. Let's see what this diagram gives us that's related to Berg winds. We know already air moves from the interior, from the Kalahari high pressure towards the coastal low. It warms up when it moves down adiabatically, all right, and becomes a warm, dry wind. So we know that. Let's look at what we see here. On the y-axis, you see the temperatures, all right? Along here, the x, you see there's terminology. So number 1, we see the word Berg winds, and here we see the word cold front. What does the graph show us? The graph shows us the temperature. When we look at the Berg wind, what do we notice generally about the temperature? It is higher. It's sitting around, the high point sitting around 34 to 35 degrees Celsius. What do we notice about the cold front? The temperatures become lower. Does it match our concepts? Yes. Berg winds associated with higher temperatures. Cold fronts are associated with lower temperatures. What else do we see here? We see different dates given to us. All right? 22nd 7th, and going from 19 to 22nd 7th. So it's simple to make sense of it. It matches what we studied. Okay, so let's look at some of the questions. And you're going to see how easy it is. Give the highest temperature recorded for July 20th. And if I look at July 20th, I look at the high number down here. And if I look at it across here, it runs to about 34, 35 degrees Celsius. Okay? And if I look at my answer here, I've got it about 34. Obviously, we would also accept around 35 degrees Celsius. Okay? Then 2.2, give the highest temperature recorded for July 21st. Notice what the examiner is doing. He's giving attention to the different actual days. So he's making you focus on Berg winds, high temperature, cold front, low temperature. So obviously when we look at the cold front, that's what's happening on the 21st of July. We look around here, it comes somewhere down there, which gives us around 11, 12, 13. We give you a range of answers there also. So when we look at that one, all right, I give the highest temperature recorded for July 21st. Okay, obviously we give you a range between 11 to 14 degrees Celsius, which you generally took from your graph down here. Okay, next one. Explain the large difference in temperature. Explain the large difference in temperature between July 20th and July 21st. You already worked it out. July 20th, Berg winds. July 21st, cold front. You already worked out those two. Okay? And you know those conditions are actually responsible for that. So our answer with explaining the large difference in temperature between 20th and 21st July is the fact that on the 20th of July, you had this Berg winds, all right? And Berg winds heat up the area. It's a warm, dry wind. And of course, on July 21st was the cold front, which decreases the temperature. Okay, so let's look at the answers. All right, number one, descending Berg winds heat up adiabatically. So what can you do, learners? You can explain the Berg wind conditions, therefore the increase in temperature on July 20th. All right, warm Berg winds blow over the area where temperature is recorded. So it's coming down, it's blowing over the area, it's increasing the temperature. Cold front approaches on 21st of July and Berg winds dissipate, which decreases the temperature. Okay, so if I make reference to my systems like my Berg winds and my cold fronts and say how it increases and decreases the temperature, I've got my answers. Let's look at another one. Mention one negative consequence associated with Berg winds. A straightforward answer. Can you see how simple many of these questions are? And you know, veld fires, damaging of agricultural land, pasture land, you understand? Because it's dry, okay? And if somebody just throws a matchstick out of the car or a cigarette, Abraham, you understand? And sometimes we tend to do that, eh? It can just burn up cause a whole veld fire during the Berg winds. Because it's a dry wind coming from the interior. All right? So, one negative consequence is associated with Berg winds, and you know that already. All right? It causes fires to spread. It destroys valuable pasture land. A respiratory problem for the ages because it's a dry wind. In fact, even if you're sick, it's actually very annoying to get this experience, this wind. Okay? Unbearable temperatures for animals. All right, can release to death of livestock. All right. Our workers become lethargic and productivity is less. So it's a variety of answers that you could give. And if it was 2 times 2, 4, any 2 responses would give you the marks. All right. Then last one, give 1 precautionary measure that can be implemented to reduce damage caused by Berg winds. 1 precautionary measure, what could we do? You understand? We could monitor, we could create fire breaks so that we limit any fire spreading. You've learned this directly from your work that you study. So it's very, very simple. All right, now let's look at this. Again, you can give fire precautions, all right? Putting up warning signs, etc. You can create fire breaks where you burn a patch of land. All right, so if the fire comes from here, it stops at the burnt patch and doesn't spread. You can use fire danger index, like what we use for the UV rays. We can say there's a huge danger of fire spreading here due to the Berg winds. The percentage of danger is high or low, so more precautionary measures need to be taken. So various solutions. Now learners, what I'd like to say here, this question is very simple, but some of us tend to skip it because we look up here and we look at this thing and we say we haven't done Berg winds with a little graph like this. So it has to be a difficult question. Read through carefully and you find sometimes these questions could be the easiest. Okay, let's do another question here on geomorphology. All right? I took one on river rejuvenation. Immediately, when they say, look at this process of rejuvenation, river rejuvenation, learners, what do you do first? In your minds, work out what is rejuvenation. So it gives you an idea. Okay, so when the energy, a river has been re-energized due to various factors such as gradient, steeper gradient, greater volume of water. All right, these are the concepts of river rejuvenation. Now, again, let's interpret the diagram. Let's keep rejuvenation in our minds. Whoa, I can see there's a nick point here. A nick point is a sharp change in gradient. Okay, so that could be a point where rejuvenation had occurred. What else can I see here? I look at river used to be a meander. So what I'm looking at here, can I see the meanders? So that looks more like a meander scar. And what has happened to the river now? It's flowing more straight. It's no more meandering around this place. And if a river is flowing more straight, which will tell us that the river has received more energy. Can you see we need to play with our diagrams, even if the information is limited? We can still make out what's really happening here. Okay, we're coming to this spot. River gravels are here. Is that really related to rejuvenation? It's interesting. Maybe there's some deposition happening. It could be nearing the plain stage at that point. But the main things on rejuvenation does come through down here. So let's look at the questions. Number 1, define the term river rejuvenation. You know that already, learners. A river regains energy and starts cutting downward. That is your answer for 1 mark. Remember, definitions are 1 mark. Let's go to the next one. Identify 2 features of river capture visible. Please note, learners, visible. Now, sometimes we get so caught up about identifying 2 features of rejuvenation, we don't read these action words. And in geography, reading those words are so important. We can't give general factors. So if we go back to our diagram, what do we see here? Whoa, there's a nick point here. All right, there's a meander scar here. Can we see also river terraces? There's a valley, so there's a valley in a valley. So those are river terraces, etc., which all tell you that the river has got power and it's cutting deeper. Okay, so that's a sign of rejuvenation. So let's look at here, all right, at our answers. All right, there we are. There's a nick point, valley in a valley, terraces, and a meander scar. All right? Any two will give me my full marks. But I took it, learners, from the resource that was given to me. Okay? Let's look at the next one. Provide one possible reason why the river rejuvenation takes place. One possible reason. Obviously, when the word possible is mentioned, we can go outside the resource. Okay, you know, increase in volume, steeper gradient, all right, uplift of the land. You know these ones. Okay, so let's look at it down here. Number one, increase in the amount of rainfall, river capture, sea level drops, coast rises. These are simple answers which you know already. It's quite factual. You just give it down there. 3.4, draw a labeled diagram of a longitudinal profile of the river from figure 3. Okay? So, first of all, we need to know what's a longitudinal profile. Okay? We know it's the side view of a river. All right? And it says labeled. So, when I look at a question like this, I need to examine my river. Is there anything along my river? Yes, there's a nick point. Is there anything else? No. So when I'm drawing a labeled longitudinal profile, I have to put the features that is found there. So when I draw this, you understand, I will put in those features. So all I do here is, I know my diagram came slightly off here, okay, but I draw my longitudinal profile, and there's only one feature, learners, and that is the nick point. All right? That is the nick point down there. Let me get back to my little diagram. All right? And where are we here? Here we are. All right? And I'll put in my nick point. Okay? And therefore I got my marks. Here it's marks for nothing, learners. I get 2 marks for the longitudinal profile, and I get 2 marks for showing what I've seen along the profile, and that is your nick point. Next one, in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, outline with reasons, okay, what will happen to the nick point over time. So you know, there's your nick point here. It's going to erode. What type of erosion is it? Headward or backward erosion. All right? So the nick point is going to move upstream, and as the water is coming down, it's going to erode and create a steeper gradient. Besides moving upstream, water is flowing over. It's going to create a waterfall. So various things will happen to this, and eventually what it's going to do, it's going to completely erode the nick point and maybe possibly nearing more towards a graded profile. So let's look at some of the answers down here. All right, there we are. Headward erosion will occur. A nick point moves upstream. Remember, it's eroding upstream. Okay, and it's moving backwards. All right, nick point will move upstream. The stream energy will increase downstream. Why will it increase downstream again? Because as the water is coming down, it's eroding deeper, it's becoming steeper, so more water will be flowing faster. Right? The steeper gradient will develop directly downstream, as I mentioned, because it's coming down and eroding. A waterfall will develop at the nick point, and eventually, as it carries on with its headward or backward erosion, the waterfall will eventually disappear, and we possibly could reach towards a graded profile. Now, I'm going to give you a break now, Abra, so that I can give them more time on the next question.
I'm sure they deserve
Right.
it. Well, during this break,
Okay.
Mind Citizens, remember you still have the challenge question. And thank you for all the questions that you guys have been sending. Dave is here to tackle them. And remember, also, we do have the competition that we're giving away. We're giving away 1 of 4 cars. So, guys, if you don't get to win now, remember, you can still win again. It's simple. The steps are 3. They're very simple. You buy a book, this official Safeways K53 Learners and Drivers Manual, or download the cool Android app. It is available for Samsung smartphone users from the Galaxy App Store, or now you can get it from the Google apps, from Google Play. So guys, you can get it, and then after getting the app, you go to our Facebook page, fill in an entry form, and then lastly, like our Facebook page and the Safeways K53 page. It's that simple, guys. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back, awesome mindsetters. Now, before the break, I told you guys about how to get the app, the cool Android app. If you are not a Samsung smartphone user, of which that's where you can get it on the Galaxy app, you can get it on Google Play from Monday. So from Monday, guys, get it. I'm going to be getting it soon. And already, I am planning on getting it. So by Monday, I'll be getting it as well from the Google Play Store. But now, Dave, I've got this question.
Yeah.
It's for the mindsetters as well. Since we've been talking about driving and talking about K53, promoting, safe driving.
Yes.
We've been seeing so many accidents every now and then.
Yes,
There's
it's
thousands of
terrible.
people that are dying on our roads.
Yes.
And I just want to know that what do the mindsetters believe is the cause of these unnecessary road fatalities? Because it's even worse now that it's about to be festive season. Left, right, and center, there's like road accidents every now and then. I just want to know the views from the mindsetters. What do they think is the cause, and what could be done to solve that? So it's a simple
I think
question.
it's a very important question, especially when we're hitting the holiday periods. Not even in the holiday period.
Yes.
There's so many tragedies that's happening. I mean, just the other day I saw Alberton.
Yes.
And the tragedies there. And we must take precautionary
And it
measures.
was bad. It was
you know,
so
there are so
bad.
many reasons that I could take the whole lesson talking about that. But I think it's for the mindset to really think about it.
Think about it and let me know.
A very
mindsetters.
valuable question.
We'll chat about that.
Yeah. But what we'll do, let's get to the challenge question. Learners, I tell you, when I get to these questions, we hardly cover so much because the techniques. But the most important thing is that you're picking up the techniques which you can apply for any section. All right, let's look at the challenge question before we look at any other questions. All right, many more super hurricanes are being experienced around America. And again, we said there's a climatic phenomenon created by man which could be responsible for this. Okay, increase in hurricanes. First of all, we said state and explain this phenomenon. You worked it out already, I'm sure. And most probably you went for a global warming. All right, where man, through all this carbon, extra carbon emissions, etc., is actually creating this. You already know what's global warming. It's the increase in the average temperatures of the earth over a period of time. All right, let me open up the answer here. There we are. It is the increase, it's global warming obviously, and it's the increase in the average temperatures of the earth over a period of time. The second part, explain how this climatic phenomenon could increase the number of super hurricanes. We learned already super hurricanes or tropical cyclones rely on high temperatures because as air rises, this low pressure, this huge trough of low pressure is created, and that's when the air moves in. And obviously, global warming increases the temperatures, thereby increasing the chance of super hurricanes happening. And there we have it in our answer here. All right? For hurricanes to form, temperatures over 26.5 degrees Celsius are needed, and an increase in the average temperatures due to global warming will make hurricanes stronger. Okay? I've got lots of questions here, but I'd like to see if there's any questions that the learners has given.
Okay, let's check these ones. First one is from Sbusiso Nkazimulo Ndabezita. What are the positive and negative impacts of tropical cyclone?
Sibusiso, I like the one on positive impacts. You understand? But let's just look at some of the negative impacts that we have of tropical cyclones. All right. You know already, Sibusiso, number one, it's a violent storm. You can get winds, as we showed you there, over 200 kilometers per hour. You also can get torrential rainfall, massive amount of rainfall. When Cyclone de Moina hit the south coast, you understand, or the east coast of South Africa, a place like around Richards Bay, etc., received over 250 millimeters of water in one weekend. And you must know the average rainfall of South Africa is 500 millimeters. So massive amount of rainfall. So yes, the negative thing is the damage caused, as I've explained earlier. Infrastructure is damaged. Fauna and flora is damaged. People lose their lives. There's the homes are damaged. So there's massive amount of damage that's coming, including the natural environment. And then the costs involved in actually fixing all this, you understand, is a tremendous amount. It can go into millions and billions of rands. What about the economy of a country? All right, what about the people's livelihood is taken away? You understand, as it goes by, there's no piped water, people starve, people suffer. So there's a tremendous amount of negative aspects towards this. Positive, Abraham? I can see in terms of, there's very little positive about a tropical cyclone. One of the positives, things I can see, there will be employment later in terms of fixing all the stuff. You understand? That's the positive I can see. But generally, Sibusiso, it's very negative. That's about the only positive that I can come across, that it does create further employment at a later stage.
Perhaps Fusiso can also tell us what he thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he has some ideas as
Of
well.
the other positive
Yes,
stuff.
of the other positive stuff.
I'll be not thinking, Sibusiso, how come in Johannesburg we don't get tropical cyclones? It's not fair. You understand? Thank God we don't have tropical cyclones.
That's another topic.
Yes. Is there any other questions?
Yes. Nkolisi says, how does Berg wind forms?
Well, Berg winds are very simple. All right. It forms, what's the name of the young person?
Nkolisi.
Nkolise. What actually happens here is that during winter, we've got, remember the land is colder, so the Kalahari High is well developed over the land. All right, the Kalahari high pressure system. Now, what do we have here that runs across? We have the Drakensberg Mountains, which is quite steep. And then from here, from the Drakensberg Mountains, we have a steep gradient. Okay? From there. There's Johannesburg here, there's Durban here, and we have the steep gradient. Now, provided there's the Kalahari High, which is well developed during winter, and there's a coastal low, okay, what happens? We learned already that air moves from high pressure to low pressure. But we also learned when air moves up, it cools adiabatically. When it moves down, it heats up adiabatically. So what is happening here? This air is moving down the escarpment. It's coming down here. And as it's coming down the steep escarpment, it is heating up. And sometimes, the shocking thing, there were some times when it came down and as the temperature increased, remember it's coming from land, it's dry. Durban on some occasions during winter experienced temperatures of around 42 degrees Celsius. Hot,
Sure.
dry. Okay? So that's how your Berg winds form. It can happen anywhere around here because this coastal low moves in. Remember your mid-latitude cyclone, all right? And you got it here, and in the center is a low pressure, and that touches, it becomes a coastal low. Is there any other question?
Yes, sir, there is. Tutuko says, how can you prevent river rejuvenation?
Tuko, unfortunately, this is a geomorphological process. It's a natural process. You understand? And number one, we need to ask our question, Tuku. Why do we want to stop river rejuvenation? You understand? What is the purpose of stopping it? Okay? There's no real purpose in terms of stopping rejuvenation. But we can stop the impact of rejuvenation. You understand? Sometimes when there's excessive water coming through, it can cause flooding and damage. So rejuvenation is a natural process. Unfortunately, we don't stop it. You understand? It's going to happen. If there's a nick point, you find water is going to flow through. If there's higher rainfall, there'll be greater volume of water. It's going to happen. So we can't stop the rainfall, neither can we stop the natural uplift. But I think you can look at questions like, what impact? Because if there's lots of water, and there's your river, you understand? And now there's a lot of water and rejuvenation is happening, you understand, on a regular basis, and this area is getting floods, you understand, and it's flooding all the places here. We can use our other geomorphological processes of diverting the water, you understand, building levees on the side, that means elevating, you understand, the banks of a river so that the water can flow in. So we can reduce impacts of flooding, but definitely we can't reduce river rejuvenation.
Okay. Right. This one is from Can Tutuga came again. Please, I want to. All right, Tutuga, you answered now. IMK says, can you please repeat what would happen to the neck point over time?
The nick point over time. Okay. Remember, there we have our little river. And there we have our nick point. All right, something sticking out. All right. Now, what's going to happen here is the water will flow over it. All right. And as it flows, it's going to erode it. Remember, this is upstream. So we get headward or backward erosion happening. All right. It's going to erode. This nick point is going to move upwards. A waterfall will form, but over time, you'll find that this nick point, as the water is flowing, could be totally eroded, and we could get a surface that is more smooth. So over time, as headward erosion happens, that nick point could be totally eroded.
Okay. That's it from the questions that I have now.
Okay? I'm going to start one more.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Although we have a less amount of time, and I'm going to bring one more in terms of this question. And I apologize, learners, if I don't finish the question. But at least we can go through a diagram. This shows us the inner city. All right? This is a settlement question. And we look at, learners, we look at the key here. Okay. What do we notice? There are shopping centers here. We notice there's limited access to pedestrian streets, all right, or pedestrians. There's a ring road, okay. There's a park and ride in this sort of question here. And what you call it is, there are steps taken in this little diagram, and if you look at the information, to cut down the congestion in this area, all right. We also notice A, which is a shopping center on the outside. We can see commercial decentralization happening. All right? I'm just showing you this. There's an outer ring road where people can go around the city and go to other areas. You understand? Without going into the city. All right? So park and rides, outer ring roads, etc. is found here. And you can find so much information on this diagram. You know where we're heading now. How can we reduce traffic congestion? All right, what steps can be taken? Why did that happen here? You understand, why did it move there? Because it's too much crime, too much congestion in the city. We can start working things out. But unfortunately, learners, our time is off today. We will definitely cover these sort of questions in a later session before you write the paper. All the best with the study. Do well.
Thank you so much, Dave. And guys, remember, I do have a question for you guys, so do check it out on our Facebook page concerning K53. If you think you are a bright spark, well, answer there. We love you, and thank you so much, Dave. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, peace.